All right, Nathan, thanks for joining. Um,
Yeah,
Wanted to have you on because I know you got a big event coming up a week from Friday. It
right.
starts, if I remember right. So it's October 6th, 7th, and 8th at the Armory slash Park area of in
hmm
Beardstown, right?
Yep. Roy Roberts Park in Beardstown. It's our the ninth time we've done it. We started in 2014, and it's called Pumpkin Hop Cross. It's a cyclocross event.
So for those that aren't familiar with what cyclecross is, can you give a little bit of detail of what the race involves?
Oh yeah. So cyclocross is pretty much a cross between riding a road bike and a mountain bike with a little bit of steeplechase mixed in there, whether it's running steeplechase like you see in the Olympics or on horseback from a long, long, long time ago. In fact, as far as contemporary steeplechase, I can't think the last time I saw a horse themed, not themed, but I mean steeplechase on horse. But anyways, yeah, it's a closed course. Most races are in a park. I've been to one on private ground, a fella's farm, and that was tremendous. He really had a fantasy setup there as far as I was concerned. But it happens at all levels from a little town in Beardstown, Illinois, to well, I'm sure there are smaller towns, other organizers that operate, all the way up to internationally, of course. It's the course itself is between 2.5 kilometers and 3.5 kilometers, so one and a half to 2 miles, basically. And what we do is ride on grass and through sand and through mud. Sometimes we have to dismount and carry our bike. There are obstacles to step over or run over, or sometimes hop over on your bike. Bunny hopping is probably a term of love riding. Um, just a lot of fun and extremely difficult. I have no idea really why the bug bit me when it did. I guess 10 years ago. But it did. I hesitate to use the term race because that's not really, I've never been at that level of rider or fitness to actually compete. Um,
You and me both.
I've finished. Yeah, I mean, usually my goals going into a race are to stay upright and not finish last, or at least stay upright. And that's pretty much it. I want to be safe first, and like I say, it's extremely difficult. Races are about 45 minutes each. Lower classes or less experienced riders will usually go for a shorter amount of time. So you've got junior races, maybe 25 or 30 minutes. And then the very top people, as far as experience goes, the fastest folks, they're up to 60 minutes long. And that's at the whimsy of the organizer. Internationally, women's races are 50 minutes and guys races are 60 minutes. That's for the very elite. I'm not sure how it trickles down from there, for under 23s and juniors and so forth. That's a much bigger scene, and those are the races that don't get televised. So um, anyway, it's such a thing that, while at least for me, and I think a lot of racers could say this, or I said racers again, a lot of participants could say this, when the race is going on, it's like, oh, please let this be over. Oh my gosh, I have how many laps left to do? And it's just, why am I doing this? And then once the race is over, it's like, when's the next one? So it's a, you love to hurt, or it's a good hurt when it's out there going on. Um, but all that aside, I actually should have led with this, perhaps. Cyclocross is, to me, so much more about the community and camaraderie of the folks that I meet and am able to be in contact with. Sometimes a little bit through the year, but a lot of times it's like I see these folks once a year, and that's okay. I'm sure we all have friends that we see once a year, maybe even less often, but then we're together and it's like, oh, nothing has changed and it's just right back where we left off. Not always a lot of time for a lot of visiting, but I've met a lot of people and a lot of great people through the sport and becoming a race organizer and director. And um, so that's to me what it's about. It's like, hey, let's get together for a party reunion. We'll have some food, and by the way, there's some racing going on. Sort of something like that. So I wouldn't know you if it hadn't been for cyclocross. So there you
Yeah,
go.
I did the race a couple of years ago, and it's the only race I think I've ever participated in where somebody tried to hand me a water bottle on the race because they were worried about me being
Okay.
hydrated, and at the same time offered me some Skittles, which I thought was an
Yeah,
odd combination, but you get some sugar and
lovely.
get you a little something. So evidently I looked really bad, or they were just offering everybody hydration and Skittles, one of the two.
It
And
could
I
be.
wasn't in last place, so that's a plus. So
Super. Hand ups, those are called. Those are a thing for cyclocross, and at bigger venues where you've got a lot more people coming out. When I say bigger, I mean more densely populated areas where you get a lot more people showing up just to watch, or it's um, a racer's family or support, or simply just other people waiting to do their race, or they're hanging around after their race because the days are filled with all different classes. And from the very young to old, and director or the promoter and divvy those races up however they see fit. So yeah, you might have, for hand ups, you might have bacon, or you might have dollar bills, or maybe licorice or donuts, or I mean, I'm sure there at some places there's some alcohol. We do not have alcohol at our race. That's simply not allowed in the park. So that's not a thing. But I mean, it can be a really raucous occasion, or it can be a little more subdued, and the fans contribute. Excuse me, the fans will contribute the beyond. It's a weird. I've always thought it a little weird for this area. Of course, as you know, baseball is big in this community, and that more traditional sports. So when I started this in our first race was in 2014, our first event. But when I got to thinking about it, I guess in 2013, and that's when I started entering races myself. I got my first cross bike and everything. I thought, the little guy, as it were, if you want to do, or the guy from the small town, you're the one always driving to places. If you want to, I mean, I don't know if anybody goes to the mall anymore in Springfield, but I'll say that as an example. I mean, if you wanted to go shopping, you were going to Springfield, or maybe to Jacksonville, or Quincy. You're in Mount Sterling, right? So, um, the small town person is always driving everywhere to do whatever they want to do, or whatever they can't, where their needs or desires can't be met in their own town. Um, I wanted something weird. I didn't I didn't want something weird. I wanted something different, and a reason for people to come to Beardstown. So I'm just going to fast forward. We've got a really great following from St. Louis. The year you were with us for the state championship races.
yep.
Okay, so that year we had a great Chicago contingent. We prior to that we hadn't had anybody come down from Chicago, and I didn't have anybody last year either in 2022. Our state races were in 21, but there's if you introduce one person to the sport, well, that's one more person that knows about it that didn't before. Um, and then if it happens to be my race that they come to, then they know what my race is about, not just cyclocross in general. So that's really neat. But like with Chicago, I've got to meet people there, and hopefully they talked it up. And it's really a kind of a networking type of thing. Oh, you got to go check out Beardstown or whatever. And it doesn't always work. I mean, sometimes we feel like we're right in the middle of nowhere, and everybody has lives. And my gosh, the fall is so busy. Opportunities abound, whether it's a gravel ride or just a group of friends getting together or going. I don't know, Spin River Drive's coming up soon, so there's a couple weekends that people like to go do fall things. That's all great. I mean, so many things that people can be a part of, and this is just one of their things. So, um, it's a I really don't know what to say. I'm a little nuts about it. It's extremely time consuming, but my gosh, it's so fulfilling just building the race and putting it together. And then when people can come and actually ride the course, that's very cool. It diminishes none of the prep. Like if I had two people show up, well, there's two people and they're going to have the same experience they would, as far as I'm concerned, as if there were 100 people there. It'd be a little different race experience, but they're going to get the same treatment, and that's what I really pride myself on as far as the event goes. Is being able to offer some things that perhaps you're not going to get at other events. And I guess I've come to say, and this is a really common phrase these days, that if you know, you know, or a hashtag. I'm not going to try to determine what those letters are on
Yeah.
this part, but you know what I'm talking about. If you've been to Pumpkin Hop, you know. If you haven't, well, you should. I mean, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
it.
really the goal, I think, for me tonight is just to sit down with you and get people to see your face and learn a little bit about the race. Because I've talked to people in the area
Mhm.
from, I have people in the shop from Quincy to an extent because they work at Dot or Rushville.
Mhm.
There's a pretty good community there. And a lot of times I know if they're on a road bike, I'll ask them, hey, are you going to do, or they have a gravel bike even, hey, are you going to do the cyclecross race in Beardstown? And they're like, what? And it's like, hey, we got to get
Right.
word out to the local people even and just let it grow
Right.
because it is such a fun event. And it does suck when you're doing it at times, especially when you're running through the sand or climbing up the stairs. But at the same time, it's probably one of the most fun races I've done on a bike just because it's so much different than just sitting on a
Mhm.
bike and racing down the road or
Right. And you
it's
were on your
got
mountain bike
mountain.
when you did it
Yeah,
too.
and it's got a little bit of a mountain bike feel to it, but I'll be there
It does.
with a little bit more of a cross bike this time, not
I
as
think you like the
dedicated cross.
handling better on that type of course, and certainly the weight will be better.
Yes.
Um, Although we welcome mountain bikes. In fact, you can ride whatever. About the only requirement for people entering the event is you have to have a helmet, and you have to wear your helmet while you're on your bike. Um, and that's pretty much it. Sign an event waiver like anybody would. We do have entry fees, but I'll get to something about no entry fee in just a second. And then the type of bike that a person should have, that really can be anything. First time folks I've seen show up on hybrid bikes. They've got a little bit of tread to them. They're not just don't just have slicks on the tires, like a traditional road bike might have. Certainly like a BMX type bike, dirt bike, etc. Just as long as there's some tread to the tires, and it's not necessarily the knobbier the better, but you definitely don't want to show up with skinny road tires. The bike style, the bike frame is fine, and if you can fit wider, more aggressive tires on that same bike, then that's great. You don't have to have a cyclocross specific bike. Um, Gravel will go kind of either direction. A lot of people will ride their gravel bike. Um, I have to mention gravel because gravel has gotten so big,
Right.
and people really seem to enjoy that. Some folks that have ridden cross have kind of gone to gravel, so they don't even think about racing cross anymore because gravel is their thing, so to speak. But yeah, if you've got a dirt bike or a hybrid, as long as you can ride confidently on surfaces other than asphalt or concrete, then you're going to be in good shape. So if it gets a little wet, well, and that's something else. The race runs rain or shine. The only time that you would probably not have a race is if there were really heavy winds, lightning, thunder, that sort of. Well, thunder is no big deal, but if there's lightning in the area, then we'd have to hold while things passed. Otherwise, it's rain, sleet, snow, just a lot like the mailman. We probably would quit for dark of night, except for our night races where it will be lit, but not the whole course. That will just be a really short course, not a traditional cross race. Sort of, it's going to be really flat as well, and be like 10 laps. It won't be a timed race. And that'll be Friday night. I'll have 2 of those, and then like the top 5 from each of those will race in a finale after that. But we'll put up lights, and racers will have lights on their bikes, and that's a lot of fun. The idea there is they just go as fast as they can. Hot laps, you might call those. There won't be any obstacles. It's just sort of a grass crit, grass criterium. If you or folks watching might be or know what criterium racing is, sort of something like that. So, but I mentioned entry fees earlier, and there are 2 races where people will not have to have an entry fee. Therefore, it's free. And the first race that we're having is a little kids race, and that will be for ages 4 through 8. And that's just 1 lap on a really short course, no obstacles. It does utilize part of the regular course. The start and finish will be the same, and we'll go under the flyover and that sort of thing. But really short, free race, hoping to get community involvement with that. But if the bike has training wheels, the bike has training wheels. But same deal applies with the helmet, and come out and bring your kiddo and have, hopefully they'll have a lot of fun, and you will too, and maybe stick around and watch some of the other races. And then the other free race I'm offering this year is for absolute beginners 9 and up. So this will be, if you just want to come out and give it a try, see kind of what it's about, but not hurt yourself in the meantime, not fully exert yourself. Although I'm sure it will be taxing to many folks, but it'll be flat. It'll be they will go over the flyover, and we'll talk about what a flyover is here in a second. But it'll be 2 laps, but a rather abbreviated course. And that's just so folks can get an idea of what it's about. A couple of races ago, or maybe last year, I helped with a race in Springfield as well, and that's on the 21st of October this year. That's with Springfield Park District. But I think I heard there was mention of, why don't we have a race where, people that want to come out and try it, they aren't doing the full course with all the terrain changes and all the different obstacles and whatever more experienced people are encountering on the or during the race. Because if it's that hard, maybe people won't want to come back. It's like, well, that was whatever that was. I'm never doing that again. Well, I'd rather just give people a taste, right? So we're going to keep them flat on grass, but have them go over the flyover. And that's a big ramp going up to a platform that's 9 feet in the air, going across the platform, and then going down another long ramp, 8 feet wide. And then the first ramp, well, depending on the direction, but the direction the first time racers will be going, the ramp going up is 40 feet long, then 20 feet across the top, and the 32 feet going down. It's pretty massive. And for little races, it's rare. I mean, even everywhere you race, don't have flyovers. St. Louis, I think, did have one, but that was before I started racing and became more familiar with the regional scene, as it were. But so that's something pretty special, that we have not only a flyover, but a nicely sized one right here in Central Illinois. And that's something we've always had. It used to be carry your bike upstairs on one side. It was 13 steps to the top, and then remount your bike and then ride down the ramp. And then our stairs didn't make the move from the race course to the storage area a couple of years ago. So I built a new ramp last year, so we ride, and this way I can run the course in both directions as
I'm
well.
really disappointed you got rid of those stairs, because that was fun,
well,
carrying the mountain bike.
they kind of got rid of them. They kind of got rid of themselves. I didn't have much. And if you, I don't want to get specific enough, but if you'll recall the little zigzag, little jog, shorter flyover, that was towards the, I think I had it towards the end of the course, like, or the year you year. That I complete those sections I completely disassembled, and that's what I built the 40-foot ramp out of last year. So it was had cost in the beginning to build those, but no cost to use all that material. So that was very cool in building the new ramp. So but yeah, so first timers can try it for free, and it's 2 laps, so 15 or 20 minutes possibly. Ride as hard as they want, or just just kind of enjoy their time riding through the grass and circling around and whatever, and then going up and over the flyover and coming back home, as it were. So that's what that's about. And those races are Saturday. I'm only doing it one day, Saturday, October 7th, and pretty much through the noon hour. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but everything can be found on our Facebook page, Pumpkin Hop Cross. And then we use for registration, even though those races are free, I still would like people to register in advance if they can for the free races. If they're entering a race that requires an entry fee, they absolutely have to register in advance. But for the local folks that want to come out and try it, or like I say, bring their kid, bring their 4 to 8 year old, then not 48-year-old, although that could be okay too, but they're
That'd be me.
ages 4 to 8. That would be great, and they can come out as long as they're there at least an hour ahead of time. Then we can get everybody signed up who shows up, and we're just not taking any money on site, but we can easily add races or add the free stuff without any issue at all. So, but yeah, that's Saturday through the noon hour. I think it might be 12:15 the first race, but have a look at the Facebook page, and everything's right there.
And so before we wrap up, just real quick, talk a little bit about the event. So it starts Friday night, and you said there's 2 races Friday night?
Right. There are 2 races on Friday night. I believe we start at 7, perhaps 7:30. That's really good. Really good and prepared for me to have this schedule, isn't it? Saturday evening. I wanted it dark enough, not so dark that we're can't see, like, to get organized and get going, but then dark enough that dark falls pretty quickly, and then it's actually a night race. I don't want a twilight race or a late afternoon race. But yeah, we'll have one race will be for what would be called Cat 4-5. So Cat 4 racers, Cat 5, the less experienced folks. As many want to enter that'll be the first race. The second race will be for categories 1, 2, and 3. The categories are based on USA cycling licenses. That's not a consideration this year. That's why I haven't brought it up at all. For those familiar, you have to have a license at many events. This one we decided not to, because we are partnering more. We've always partnered with Beardstown Park District to put the race on, but we've developed, we've got an even closer relationship, and we're running it as a co-sponsored affair. So it's something new, and it's an effort to build more community involvement, and hope that pays off. Pardon me?
Reduces costs for people that just want to give it a try. They don't have to buy the extra license and some of that stuff, right?
Exactly. Have a license, and you think, I don't want to have to get that day license. It might be $15 this year, I'm not sure, but 10 or 15. I don't want that to be a barrier to entry. And if we can get more people in the sport, and not, well, yeah, if we get more people in the sport, great. And if it means them trying it or not, or if that entry or the license requirement is what keeps them from trying it, I wanted to take that out, do what we can to get people involved, to remove any barrier possible. So not too eloquent, but I hope the point is there. So
if I remember right, your Friday races are only like $10 to enter.
They are for those that would want to race Friday night. I just made those $10. They're kind of they're just meant to be fun, to do something a little bit different. We'll have minestrone soup. That's something we've done many times. I don't think we've done it every time. Like our first year, we didn't when we had night races, but I think every time since we have, and I haven't had night races every year, and haven't had a night race or a night event since maybe 2019. Definitely in 18, but I don't remember if I did in 19 or not. But that's the past. This year it's two races, as you said, followed by a third. So the first race is the lesser experienced folks, the second race is more experienced folks, and then the last race will be the top 5 finishers from each of the first 2 heats. And they'll all be racing each other, so there'll be an overall winner, but then I'll also award or score, or there will be places for the 2 groups separately. Usually don't have a huge turnout on for the Friday night races, but it's like I say, just something and something different. And there's soup. So let's have it. Saturday morning, we start at 8:15, I think, and run all day until 3:45, I believe. Saturday is a longer day and Sunday's a little bit shorter. We'll start a little bit later and end a little bit earlier. So the schedules are different. And we'll have a course reversal. I'm not really sure at what point I will reverse the course. Last year, we went in 2 different directions. We just had a one-day event last year. And it's amazing how different the course rides in the opposite direction. It's not, it's different. You're on the same track, but going the other direction, it's a completely different race. So that's this. I mean, these are the comments that I've heard anyway, from folks coming back like, wow, that was great. I started to say, I don't know at what point I'll reverse the course. As registrations come in, it might be good to reverse it partway through the day, like after the free races, after the noon hour races, let's say on Saturday. Then all the races in the afternoon on Saturday should be compiled of people who had opportunities to race in the morning. So I look at the afternoon races as kind of their second race of the day if they choose to race more than once. Sunday is a little more compact, and it would be hard to say. I'm not sure if I would be able to flip the course in the day. But in short, I'll either run one direction on Saturday, the opposite direction on Sunday, or 2 directions on Saturday, and then just pick like maybe what people like most or like that. It won't revert the course. One very small section that would need just a slight retaping or redesignation of the course. It could be done at 3 or 4. So that's not an issue. But it went very well when we did reverse the course. It gives people more opportunities, and if you're going to drive this far, you can race on 2 courses, not just one, and have multiple days to do it, for that matter.
And then if I remember, your entry fees for Saturday and Sunday, if you're just going to do like one race, it's about $40. But you've got
Right.
an all-inclusive deal where you can race the entire weekend for like $75 for as many races as you want.
That's right. That's correct. So if you want to race Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, then the best deal going is $75. If you want to race just Friday night and not Saturday or Sunday, it's $10. If you can't come Friday night, but you know you can be here Saturday and Sunday, then that rate is $70. And then if you can only do Saturday or Sunday, that fee is $40 for each day. So 10, 75, 70, 40. I was thinking there were 5 different ones. Was there another one that I'm missing?
The free ones.
The free ones, right? We've got those. I think that's it. I didn't have a combo deal for like a Friday night and Saturday. So if somebody wanted to race Friday night and then want to race also Saturday or Sunday, then that'll be $50. But it's you would have to register for Friday and then register for Saturday or Sunday. Like I say, there's no combo price for that.
But essentially,
Or
I mean, a
a
lot of
little,
people around here have like 5K experience, which is, you know, a 30 to 40
Mhm.
race at most. And I kind of look at this as kind of like the same thing. I can go do a cyclocross race for the same price as a 5K race and same kind of duration, but I can enter it multiple times. You know, I could race for $40. I could do 2 or 3 races on
That's right.
your Sunday and have a bunch of
Sure.
fun, do something different.
A lot of times, an organizer, and everybody's different and every way is fine. And I've never heard anybody complain about entry fees for whatever the case. But a lot of times you'll have an entry fee of any amount, let's say $30. And then it'll say somewhere on the flyer, or it'll be advertised, additional races, $10 each. So
Mhm.
if you want to race 3 races, that's $50. If you want to race 2, it's 40. And of course, if you stick with the one, then that's just your basic entry fee of $30. But last year I thought, let's see how it goes. Just offer one price and then enter as many races as you want, whether it's one or if it's four or whatever your body can handle. And theoretically, you're entering races with like fitness people. Um, but I mean, you could have a complete beginner, no, probably not complete beginner, but somebody who's been out there and knows what it's about and has fallen down a few times and so on and so forth. They could enter a race with a much higher category. Now they have no intention or presumption that they'll be finishing anywhere mid pack or higher. I mean, they probably plan to finish last as long as they stay upright, of course. But yeah, they can enter it. So and as well, all my races are mixed. Most of my races are mixed. So men, women, it doesn't really matter. You can enter whatever races you want, except those designated women only, and that is just for the girls. So, but they can enter any of the men's races, and it's just easier. Unfortunately, we don't have a very large uh, contingent of women in the area that compete, whether it's road or mountain bike, or probably more mountain bike. But that's a scene that I'm really not all that familiar with. Um, Except I know folks that ride mountain bike will also race cyclocross. And they might just do it on their mountain bike. Some have both mountain bike and cross bike, of course. But um, anyway, yeah, I want there to be as many opportunities as possible for people to race, and I don't want to charge an arm and a leg for it. I know that's subjective, but I think it's a pretty good deal. Um, and like I mentioned earlier, we're not exactly in the middle of nowhere, but we could be viewed as that. So if I'm
From a
having folks come,
cyclocross standpoint, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's if people even know what cyclocross is, and that's been a surprise to me. Even people have been riding their bike for years, whether they're doing the Springfield, the Century ride there, or I mean, they're on these group rides. But cyclocross, what's cyclocross? Like, well, how can you not know what cyclocross is? But that's just that's me. So then I'm happy to be an ambassador for the sport and get a little giddy talking about it. But uh where was I going before we got into that? See, it's easy to get sidetracked. There's so much to talk about.
Well,
uh
I'm going to tell you, we got less than 3 minutes before the meeting's going to cut off. So I'm going to let you give
oh,
any
okay.
parting thoughts. And
Okay.
fans welcome, no entry fee. Anybody can come watch, right?
Great. Right, right. Oh, and I'll offer for our participants. I already mentioned we're having minestrone soup on Friday night. On Saturday, El Pueblito, which is my favorite Mexican restaurant here in Beardstown, they're going to be catering for our racers. And then on Sunday, we've got Coatney's Barbecue out with their food wagon, and we feed racers that day too. So, I mean, you come to race with me, I'm feeding you as well. So I like that. We've got hot showers. We've got free camping at the park if you want to camp. There are a number of Airbnbs around. They seem to be popping up all the time, um, as well as a couple motels in town. Of course, outlying areas, whether it's Mount Sterling, Rushville, Jacksonville, Springfield a little farther, of course. But yeah, really all the information that you need is on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Pumpkin Hop Cross, and that's the best place for information. Certainly you can send me a message through there anytime, and I'll be happy to get back to you just as soon as I can.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully we can
Sure.
help promote this and get more people to, even if it's one or two people come that see this video, that's was worth it to me. And
Absolutely. Yep.
appreciate it. And I will see you probably Friday and Sunday are my plans. I'll be at the
Cool.
shop on Saturday, and
Mhm.
I haven't figured out what I'm going to enter yet or what I'm going to do, but we'll figure something out.
Okay.
And go up.
Well, you can do it as many times as you want. Remember
Yeah,
that.
I'm pretty sure it'll probably be one race per day, and
Yeah.
hopefully I can get my niece. I got her a cyclecross bike and get her to show up and
Cool.
give it a try for her first time too. So we'll go from there.
Right. Super. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate the time and certainly enjoyed it.
Well, good luck with your event, and hopefully you have good weather and good attendance, and we'll see you in about 10 days.
Okay. Take care then.
Thank you.